Greetings everyone and welcome. My name is Alfred, and in this video I'm going to show you how to create a custom navbar in Flutter. Here I have projects that we had created previously when we were creating a full screen application in Flutter. And if you don't have a link to this project, don't worry, I'm going to leave a link in the description of this video so that you can get the resource and the video on how to create a full screen application in Flutter. So this is the folder that we were creating this application in the previous video, and here we're going to make some modifications. What we're going to start by, here in the lib folder, I'm going to add another folder, and I'm going to call it views. And inside the views, I'm going to have another folder as well, and I'm going to call it pages. And now in these pages, I'm going to create one file, and I'm going to call it home.dat, like that. And now what we're going to do in our main.dat, which is this file here, I'm just going to cut everything from here up to here, and I'm going to transfer that to the new files that we just created, right? So here I'm just going to go ahead and paste everything in. Then I'm going to import the material like that. I'm going to save that, go back to the main.dat, and now I'm going just to import this from the home.dat inside the views and pages. I'm going to get that class from there. So we've not changed the logic, we've only changed the file location, so that if we hot restart the application, it should still run as it did before, like that. All right. So another thing that I want to do inside the lib, I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it theme. Inside the theme, I'm going to create a new file, and I'll call it color scheme. That, like that. And I have already made my color scheme, and I'm just going to bring it and paste it in. So copy it from my clipboard, and I'm just going to paste it in here like that. So I already have the light color scheme here, and another color that I have is the dark color scheme from here. After doing that, I'm going back to my main.dat, which is this one here, and I'm going to define the theme data from here. What I'm going to do, instead of using the swatch, I'm going to say I'll be using material3, and I'm gonna pass the material3 flag, and I'm gonna give it a value of true. Then I'm gonna pass the color scheme, and I'm going to select the default color scheme that I would want my application to boot up with. So I'm going to have the dark color scheme. Remember that the image that we have for background is dark, and that's why I select the dark color scheme. If we get time, we might change to a bright one and see how the change is going to come along. All right. And now, since we are using the color scheme from material3, what we can do from here is update and say this one's now going to come from the material3. I'm just going to say theme.of context, and here I'm going to pass the color scheme, and I'm going to pass the brightness. It's complaining because we have a constant here. If we remove that, then everything works fine. And we're going to change this one as well, like that. We save that and run our project. We should still have the same result, even though now we are using our color scheme. All right. So after changing that, what I want to do inside the pages, I'm going to create a new folder, and I'll call it shared. Let me use small letters, shared, And inside this shared, I'm going to create yet another folder. I'm going to call it widgets. And here I'm going to create one file and I'll call it navbar. And here is where we're going to have our main navbar residing. All right. So what I'm going to do here now, I'm just going to have it as a widget and just going to call it navbar for now. And it's gonna receive the an argument of type build context. So this, I'm just going to call it context. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to return a safe area like that with a child, and this child is going to just be a container like that. And for now, what I can do for the child of this container, just going to say to text, and this text, it's going to say custom navbar. Right, I mistyped custom here, so it's just gonna be saying custom navbar, and we could just pass constant since we don't have a dynamic value coming inside this text widget. All right, so I'm going to save that. If I save that and go back to my home.dot, here we see we have a container, which is this one. And now what we can do here, instead of passing the color like this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say this one will be theme, should be of context, and then here I'm going to have a color scheme, and I'm going to say background. And it's complaining because we are bringing in value and we have a constant here, but we can pass the const value here so that the const modifier here, so that we can prevent this part here from rebuilding when the application is rebuilding. All right. So, and in this container, we are going to have a child, and this child is going to be a column. And column is going to have some children, and the first child that I'm going to pass in is the navbar that we just defined. Right. So it means that if I had to run this and then see my application, we already have the custom navbar here. The only problem that we have is that it's not panning through the whole but that's not actually the problem with the navbar itself. This coming from the container that we are using is our home. So here what we can do, we can define a width and can say media query dot of context. We can pass in size, and this time around we're passing the width of the device. So the width of this container will be the same as the width of the device, and the same as the height. The height of this container, it's gonna be the same as the height of the device that we're using. All right, so if I go ahead and reload that, now you can see we have the full screen page, and we have a custom navbar being printed on top of our page here. All right. Okay, so having done that, what we can do, we can just give some small margins for custom navbar. So if we go to our navbar here, we could say we want to have only from the top some margins. So from bottom we can pass false like that, and this container here will be actually now our navbar. And what we can do, we can just style it just a bit. And one way of styling this is defining the margin. So I'm going to add some margins. So it's going to be coming from the edge instance, and I'm just going to take all, going to have a value of 5.0. Of course, it's constant since I'm just defining it here. And I'm going to have the padding. I'll have padding also of 5.0 like that. Okay, I'm also going to define the height of my navbar, and I'm just going to pass in 60.0. Another thing I'm going to have is the decoration. It's going to be a box decoration, and I'm going to pass in color, and it's going to come from the theme that we defined, then of context. And here I'm going to reach out to color scheme, and then I'm going to have the service value as my navigation bar background color. All right. So if I were to run this again, you can see now we have the custom navbar being printed here. What we can do to make it span the whole width is to just do the same as this one. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this, go back to the navbar, and I'm going to pass in the container width here. It's going to be like that, and then we reload our application. See, now it's going to span through and have some margins that we defined before. Another way we can do this, I think we can say double dot max finite and try to save that. Let's see if this is going to work, and still works the same. So it's going to extend until where it can reach. All right. Okay, so having done that, but actually I'm going to leave it with the media query width here. All right. So another thing I'm gonna pass inside the decoration here, it's gonna be the border radius. So I'm going to have a border radius. It's going to come from the border radius, of course, border radius, and then I'm going to have border radius on all sides. And here I'm just going to pass the radius, and it's going to be circular radius, and I'm going to have a value of 5.0. Of course, as always, you can have this one as constant, so it saves some memory when I'm rebuilding the widget tree again. All right. So what I'm going to do here, going to have it break and token there. When I save, it now aligns it arranges the code correctly. All right. So if I were to restart the application again and go back here, now you can see we have a nice radius on our navbar. All right. Okay. So what we have here, it's we are returning text here. Instead of returning the text as our child of this container, what we can do, I'm going to have a row like that, and this row is going to have the main axis alignment, and I'm going to put this one to the space between. So it's going to be main axis alignment space between like that. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to pass in the children of this row, and the first child of this row I'm going to have will be another row, and this other row of course is going to have some children, and the first child of the second row, it's going to be I'll pass the inkwell like that, and I'm going to find some properties of this inkwell widget, and it's going to be the first one on hover. I'm going to say I'm going to return just nothing. I'm not going to act on hover of this widget here, and also I'm going to pass another property which is on top, and I'm still going to do the same. Not going to return anything. I could print the menu pressed, but I'm not just going to do that because we're only interested with the navigation bar. All right. So what I'm going to do here, the child of this inkwell, it's going to be an icon. So I'm going to pass in an icon. So icons dot menu. Icons should be icons dot gonna have menu rounded, and I could have this one as constant as well. All right. Okay, so I'm going to restart that, bring up the application again, and now as you can see, we have a menu here. What I can do, I can go ahead and pass in the color, and it's going to come from the theme that we defined, and color scheme, and it's going to be on background. So if we have to do that, we have to get rid of the constant modifier here for the icon. And another property I'm going to pass in is the size, and I'm going to just pass in 24.0. If I restart my application, as you can see now, we have a better image of the icon. So we have a better icon. The second child of the first row will be, of course, another row. And the other row is going to have some children as well. So what will happen is that this row will be aligned in the beginning or at the start, and this row here will be aligned on the left side, on the right side, or at the end of this row here. All right. So the children of this row are going to be on the right, and the children of this row are going to be on the left, which is the case of the first child, which is this icon here. It's on the left side. All right. Okay. So I have already defined the children of the other row, and I don't want to let you watch me while I type all the code. So I'm just gonna copy it inside my from my clipboard, and I'm just going to paste the second row here. It's the same, only that now I have some space and I have some stack here for the notification. Then I'm just positioning the notification count here. All right. So if I reload this and come back to my application, we can see now I have filled the other part of the navigation bar. All right. So another thing we can do, we can just try to bring some content of another page, of this page, I mean, down to the home here. So here we could have another child of this column. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass expanded, and the child of this expanded is going to be user list. Remember, I've not defined this user list, and I'm going to pass in the context, and inside my pages here, now not shared, inside my pages where I have my home, I'm going to create another file, and just want to call it user list dot like that. And I already have the user list, so in my clipboard. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to paste the user list here. It's already created, and it's quite a bit of mockup, and I just want to paste it in. You can grab the code and see what is happening, but it's actually just creating a list, then creating a table and putting some data inside. You can grab the code and see what's happening inside, but it's actually merely just a list. All right. And so here we can import the user list. Not sure if I defined it correctly. And now we have the user list here. All right. So if I have to save that, go back to my application, restart it. And as you can see now, I have the user list being printed on this page. And now we have the custom navigation bar for our application. So we're going to stop here in this video. Thank you very much for being with me on this one. I'll see you in the next one.